Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation. Today we're going to explore the fascinating world around us. The title of our presentation is Exploring the World Around Us, and we're going to focus on resources, maps, and population maps. We'll look at how these tools help us understand our planet better. So, stay with me as we dive into these exciting topics. Let's get started. Today, we're going to look at how natural resources are categorized. They are mainly divided into two types: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. Natural resources are materials we find in nature that are useful to us humans. They're the foundation of many of our daily needs and activities. So when we ask, what are natural resources? We're really talking about all the natural materials that help sustain life and support our economies. Understanding this division helps us see which resources we can rely on continuously and which ones require careful management because they are limited. This is a key part of understanding how we use and conserve the Earth's resources for the future. Let's take a closer look at some examples of renewable resources. When we talk about resources like animals, fruits and vegetables, plants and trees, water, energy from the sun, also known as solar energy, and air, we're referring to resources that can be easily reproduced or replenished over time. These are what we call renewable resources. The key idea here is that nature has a way of replenishing these resources naturally, so they don't get used up permanently. For instance, animals reproduce, plants grow back, and water cycles through evaporation and rainfall. The sun constantly provides energy, and the air is continuously renewed through natural processes. Understanding these renewable resources is crucial because they form the foundation of sustainable living. They remind us that we can meet our needs without depleting the planet's natural reserves, as long as we manage them wisely. This fits into the broader theme of responsible resource use and the importance of harnessing nature's replenishment capabilities for a healthier future. Did you know that fossil fuels, like coal, oil, and natural gas, actually take millions of years to form? That's right. These resources come from ancient plants and animals that lived millions of years ago, and it takes an incredibly long time for the natural processes to create these fuels. This makes them a prime example of non-renewable resources, which means we can't easily replace them once they're gone. In addition to fossil fuels, minerals like gold are also non-renewable. These resources are limited, and because they take such a long time to form, our current supply is finite. This highlights a key point in our discussion about resource sustainability. Many of the resources we rely on are not only limited, but also take an immense amount of time to regenerate naturally. So, understanding the nature of these resources helps us see why it's so important to manage them wisely and consider alternative, renewable options for the future. Let's take a look at the first question here. It asks, which of the following is a renewable resource? The correct answer is solar energy. This highlights an important point. Unlike non-renewable resources such as coal, oil, or gold, renewable resources are naturally replenished over time. Solar energy is a great example because the sun's power is virtually inexhaustible on a human timescale. Now, moving on to the statement about fossil fuels. It says that fossil fuels are considered non-renewable because they form over millions of years. That's a key concept to remember. Fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas take millions of years to develop, which means they can't be replenished within a human lifespan. Understanding the difference between renewable and non-renewable resources is crucial because it ties into broader themes of sustainability and responsible resource management. The more we rely on renewable sources like solar energy, the better we can protect our environment and ensure resources are available for future generations. So here's an interesting fact. Arab countries are actually the largest producers of fossil fuels in the world. This really helps us understand how resources like oil, coal, and minerals are distributed across different regions. When we look at maps like this, the legend is key. It shows us the symbols that indicate where specific resources are found. What we're looking at here is a special kind of map called a resource map. Its main purpose is to help us identify the exact locations of natural resources. Think of it as a guide that points us to where these valuable resources are concentrated. Understanding resource maps is important because they tell us where to find these resources, which can influence everything from economic development to geopolitical strategies. So, as we move forward in this presentation, keep in mind how these maps connect to the bigger picture of resource management and global economics. Now, let's take a closer look at our key feature here. You'll notice that the map uses darker shades to represent areas with higher populations, while lighter shades indicate lower populations. This visual approach makes it easier to quickly identify where most people live. It's a simple yet powerful way to understand population distribution at a glance. Think of it as a way to see the density of populations across countries or states without having to dive into numbers. When we look at a population map like this, we can instantly grasp where the major hubs are and how populations are spread out geographically. This ties back to our overall theme of understanding demographic patterns, helping us see the big picture through visual cues. It shows how data visualization can make complex information more accessible and meaningful. Let's take a closer look at population density maps. These maps are incredibly useful because they show us where people are concentrated across different regions. By visualizing this information, we can better understand settlement patterns, like where cities grow and how populations spread out. They also help us identify resource needs in various areas, which is essential for planning and development. The key purpose of these maps is to provide a more precise view of how populations are distributed. Instead of just knowing the total population, we see how densely populated a particular area is. For example, a map might compare the number of people per square kilometer, giving us a clear picture of where populations are thick or sparse. When we talk about population density, we're referring to the number of people per unit of area, usually per square kilometer. This helps us understand the intensity of settlement in different regions. It's a straightforward concept, but it tells us a lot about how humans occupy space. So, in essence, population density maps are vital tools for understanding settlement patterns and resource allocation. They connect directly to our broader theme of understanding human geography and how populations interact with their environment. Now, let's look at slide 9. As the hint suggests, one map shows the total number of people in a region, while the other shows how densely populated an area is. That is, how many people live per unit of land. This distinction is important because a total population map can hide how crowded or spread out people are in different areas. When we talk about a population density map, we're focusing on how tightly packed people are in a specific space. This helps us understand where resources, services, and infrastructure might be under pressure, or where there might be more space. Now, regarding the question about what a population density map differs from a population map, the correct answer is B, natural resources and their locations. Why? Because population maps focus on where people live, but population density maps give us insights into the distribution of people relative to land area, which can influence or be influenced by natural resources. And to clarify, a resource map, which is what the first question asks about, shows us where natural resources are found, like minerals, water, forests, or oil, which are crucial for understanding economic activities and resource management. So, in summary, the key point here is understanding the difference between total population and density, and how these maps serve different purposes in analyzing our world. Now, let's take a closer look at climate maps. These maps show temperature ranges, helping us understand the different climate zones across regions. They also report on climate zones themselves, which are essential for predicting weather patterns and understanding local climates. Meteorologists rely on these maps to forecast weather, analyze trends, and prepare for changes. Moving on, the climate zones are color-coded to make them easy to identify. For example, you'll see brown representing mountains, green for plains, and yellow indicating deserts. These colors illustrate the natural features like plains, deserts, and mountain ranges that shape a region's climate. Finally, the landform maps help us visualize these physical features more clearly. By showing both climate zones and landforms together, these maps give us a comprehensive view of how the landscape influences weather and climate. Understanding these maps is crucial for grasping the overall picture of a region's environment and how it impacts our daily weather and long-term climate trends. Now, let's look at how different maps help us understand resources and populations. First, the resource map shows us where people are located relative to resources. Next, the population map displays natural resource locations, giving us a better idea of where resources are concentrated. And then, the climate map, specifically Part C, shows us climate zones and temperatures, which influence where resources and populations can thrive. Moving on to the questions, how does a population density map differ from a general population map? Well, a population density map shows us how many people live per unit of area, giving a sense of crowdedness or sparsity in different regions. In contrast, a general population map just shows where people are located overall. Why are fossil fuels considered non-renewable resources? Because they take millions of years to form, and once we use them up, they can't be replenished on a human timescale. Examples include coal, oil, and natural gas, which are all fossil fuels. Now, what about renewable resources? These include resources like solar energy and wind energy, which are naturally replenished much faster than we use them. They're sustainable options for our future. Finally, to tie it all together, natural resources are divided into two categories, renewable and non-renewable. Understanding these differences helps us make better choices about resource use and management, which is essential for sustainable development. Maps help us understand and explore our incredible world. They're such powerful tools that allow us to see where different places are, understand the geography, and even learn about the cultures and resources in various regions. By studying maps, we can better appreciate the diversity and complexity of our planet. Remember, it's also really important to protect our renewable resources, things like forests, water, and clean air. We need to use these resources wisely to ensure they last for future generations and to create a sustainable future. I want to congratulate all of you on completing this amazing journey of learning about natural resources, maps, and population distribution. You've gained valuable knowledge that helps us understand how humans and the environment interact. So, thank you all for your attention and curiosity. Keep exploring, asking questions, and discovering new things about our world. And remember, the more we learn and care, the better we can protect our beautiful planet for everyone.